Alright, so I just want to give you another little tip. As I have, I said I'm going to keep these colors to play with still some more. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll grab another plate and I will put it upside down on top of it and I'll set it to the side. And that will help to keep it moist while I'm playing around with my green. Try to use it up, and that's why I always try to tell you to just to put a little bit at a time, so then that way you're not wasting your paint. Okay, so I'm thinking that the background ones definitely have to be a little darker, right? So we've been playing around with a lot of sap green, and we played a little bit with the thicket. So now I'm going to just concentrate more on the thicket. And of course, I'm going to add my new heavy green instead of the neon green, because I did use the citrus green in the background ones, so I wanted to do something a little bit brighter, and I'm thinking that this one's going to definitely be a little bit brighter. And it looks like it's almost like the neon in a way, but just with white added. So we may not need even any white. So I'm not even going to put out any white right now. And let's see what this combination does just by itself. So I'm going to pick a nice new spot here for you so you can see. And a lot of times when you're using a smaller brush, you don't want to be going into a bigger brush pile. Okay, so really get that in there. And lots of thicket. If you got lots of paint spreading out on you, then just scoop it up over here. And I probably repeated that one a few times. Okay, so now what we want to do with our 8, we went still with our 8, because now I want to add a few leaves that are going to be a little bit smaller and higher up onto the stems. Okay, so right now I want to add, I'm going to do like a back view of this one. So I want to add one that's going to slightly overlap over here. Right. And having good coverage, you can probably go over it again, but you're going to see a bit of that petal, so I suggest that you let it dry. Okay, and I did go outside and count, and there are 5 of them. And so try to give yourself almost the same kind of placement. Now you got your head, and then a lot of times the highlights are at the top, so I try to figure out where am I going to start turning my brush so that I can still get the light on the top. Okay, so in this particular area, I definitely think that this is a good turning point where you can start going in this direction so that it forces your light to be on the top. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing here, kind of in between each stroke, right? So if it was a little bit messy there, then this is a great opportunity to fix that problem. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and add one more, and just not too flat, you're just barely pressing down on your brush. Okay, so I'm liking that, and then I'm going to move on to I'm going to just come back here and share quickly. Okay, so sometimes you'll see the leaves pop up right almost underneath it, okay, depending on the view of it. So here we're seeing the stem almost behind it, because it's almost sideways there. But then you don't see any leaves too much here, right? But if it's a real face view one, then you're not going to see that long stem, so you're going to see a little bit more leaf that grows up underneath the flower. Okay, so that's what I want for the illusion of this one, right? So you don't really see all these little pieces that grow underneath the flower because it's a real face one, right? So we can add one that's going to tuck out almost sideways. Okay, over here. I want my gradient to be mostly dark and just a little bit lighter. Okay. And so in the beginning, I definitely suggest just, get them there and try to spread them out so that you're not going to overlap anything quite yet. And try and do a little curl because we ended up covering this one, didn't we? But that flower is so pretty that I think it warrants to have that covered, and then we can always do another one. So I'm not going to go over that one too much. Okay, I want that one to stand out. So we want it to be a little bit brighter on the ends. I'm going to start this one on this direction because I really don't want to cover too much of this one. I just want to kind of give it a little bit of a up and down, so that way it's covering a bit of the stem. Okay. Make sure you're happy with it. If you can fix something right away, fix it right away, and then leave it. Because I'll always go over it again. I'm just telling you now. Alright. So I definitely want to add a few more, and because this one's starting to curl, the leaves are going to kind of curl up a little bit with it too. So I want to put this one up. Okay. And I'm trying to make them as small as I can with this size 8. So if I go over it right away, usually it's because I'm trying to move my gradient up so that I'm getting a darker color. Okay. So now we have to kind of pop these guys back in front, right? So you notice I was trying to work my way down. Okay, so I'm just going to go over this one with the light on top and just feather that in. And I'm not going to go all the way down because I don't want to cover my previous leaves. But I do want to kind of get that standing out a little bit stronger again. Okay, and the same thing with this little guy too. And he can, definitely come over that top leaf. Okay, so now we're going to look at this and say, this brush is definitely too big for this little tiny bud. Okay, so definitely I think I'm going to keep to do the little stamens when I start to change to do smaller leaves. Okay, so we can come back while we have everything all nice and loaded. We're going to come back and go over these guys again and see how they look. So definitely want to intensify the color. Okay, you're going to try and go right over your original stroke. And it's okay to overlap these guys here as well. And I'm still not getting 100% coverage over here, so I'm just picked up a little bit more dark. And go over that again. But I'm going to show you guys some more tricks to perfect everything too at the end, okay? So, and then this guy here, you weren't getting good coverage here because some of this was this guy. So I want that one to overlap. So then we started here at the top, and I want to try. So if you don't make these first ones too thick, full of goopy paint, they're going to dry a lot faster for you. Okay. So then your second coat should do it. So this guy again. Over there. And try to turn in there. We can be happy with the top one, and if it overlaps a little bit in your second round, then it's perfect. Okay. Come over here. And kind of, turn a little bit. It's just all about getting fancy now, getting a little bit curvy and excited with your strokes. So this way. And so remember when I was saying that, I look gloopy there. So this is my little trick here, because I know that leaf underneath it is dry. So you just wet your brush and clean off what you didn't like before it dries. And then that way it cleans up your line again. And so that's why I always suggest you to let things dry before you start layering a little bit more. So then that way you can always easily fix things that you don't like. Especially with the multi-surface. I have to say though, one of these were a regular acrylic out of that bunch. Didn't say. Okay, so I think that we went over everything pretty good. So we'll just put that away for now, and then we're going to move down to a number 6. Okay, grab your brush, let's dampen that a little bit. And we're going to stick with the same color here. Okay, so when you're doing some little tiny 6s, definitely blend your brush differently. So I do want to add a couple of more big ones here too, but what I find too is that there's little tiny little ones in here that you can pop in. Okay, so we just put them in there. And then once you can put some small ones that are up, actually angle that just a little bit more all over the branch. And some of them are really smooth too, so, or a little bit pointy, I should say. So it's okay if they're a little bit pointy. There. I definitely want to put some little ones over here. And this is where we can try and make them as big as we can with the 6. So that you can get some variations. And another big one over here. I'm a little quieter now, right? Hopefully I don't have to repeat myself too much. Alright, and let's get some little ones here. Definitely one over here. And if you feel like you still want a little bit more depth in these tiny little ones, then we can always add a little bit of thicket into the second coat. And so we definitely need some little in there. Try to make that a little bit bigger. And the top one is dry too, so we can kind of make that a little bit bigger too. And come down. These little ones are going to really make it pop. I'm going to wait to put one on coming up later after I perfect these ones here. Okay, and we can put another little one over here. So timing, right? So I'm starting to get a little gloopy with your thicket there. Try to move out a little bit. Go over again. And I can put another little one over here. So if some of them you notice are already dry, you can definitely start going over a couple of them. When they're all dry, then I start at the top and work my way down so I don't keep myself out of trouble. I'm just going to try to really make sure you're up out of the way off of your other work. Okay. So we're going to add some of these too so they can start drying. And just try to make it really crispy at the top. Not too much paint. One there. One there. The other direction. And then these ones can even be a little bit more wispy. And up in this direction. So it's almost like the little back of a little bud there. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. And sometimes I'll use this smaller brush to fix things too. Like if I'm, just going to use the corner of my brush and I'm going to just come around here. That one's okay. This one needs a little bit more darker color in the base of it. So I'm just kind of coloring it in, and I'm only using the tip of my little tiny six. Right, so it's a little way of cheating. Right, and if you do touch down a little bit, you still have your light color there. That is going to help fade. Okay, so you just got to make sure you're going in the same direction as your original stroke. And getting that little bit of dark in there. Okay, and the same thing, like if there's any little areas that you're not happy with, I'm definitely going to go over some of these, but maybe some of these were not so covered so well, so just kind of pop in, a little bit. And then right here, I'm not really happy with this, but I can definitely add another little leaf right in here. Okay, so anything you don't like in the background, you can definitely cover again, and then I can always add another leaf at the top here. Okay, you don't want to cover that too much. So if you feel like some of them are still need another coat, this is where you can even choose to do those leaves with a little bit more white on the edge, so then they stand out a little bit more. And then also we can add some flips here and there too. And so if you're feeling comfortable, you can definitely add your flips, when you have the last coat there, and you just go and flip it over. Right? So that's one I would, and that one a little bit more pointier. So most of them are about the same kind of coverage. And I check my little bud here, and go over that again. And too globby, then just kind of blend it back. So go over here. And I don't do my last perfection until I have all of these the way I want them. And add a little bit more paint there to the green. Alrighty. I'm getting pretty happy with the way that's starting to look. You can just keep adding more and more all day long. Okay. And a lot of times your little sticks will start to get really gloopy, so just wipe off the excess and then reload. And then I'll fix that again. I'm picking up some of my light on the wrong side of the brush, but it kind of looks cool. So don't always get too upset. There's too much paint, so it's really a discipline a little bit when you're dealing with smaller brushes. Just the right amount of paint. And I guess I learned a little bit of that when I was doing nail art and customers all the time. I definitely think we need to have one that looks a little different here. Make him look like he's upside down, kind of. So we do want to make sure this guy is looking good. And I want to make sure this guy is looking good. On those. Okay, got a little bit globby there. Just wipe it out. If you go over to try to fix that, then you're just going to end up getting bigger and bigger, and you don't want to get bigger. So that's the best way to do that. Not happy with. Just tuck one up on. Just in there like that, so I don't have to finish it because I don't want to wreck my other little guy. So I'm just going to tuck that in there. I'm definitely going to have to go over this one again because this is my last newest one that I decided to add last minute. And again, I gotta go out. So I can always add a few more leaves into when we finish our centers and get a better view, stand back from it a little bit. Now also these guys here, this one you see a side view of, you're going to see a couple of them come out too. I can always add 3 of those, so don't worry too much about that one. And again, if you feel like you've covered too much of your petal, just kind of scoop out a little bit, make sure it's not too wet. And then you can kind of erase what you don't like. Okay. Donna does sell these erasers. They're kind of cool too. They have like a little rubber end to them. And if it's a little bit stubborn, then you can just scrub on it a little bit and erase it. But you don't want to wait too long to do this. And hopefully your pink is really good and dry so that dry that a little bit. And if you have to, you can always go over your little daisy stroke if you feel like you don't like that one. And so you can put that daisy stroke right back over the leaf with a little bit more of a dolphin nose. And so the nice thing, there's no rules. And a lot of times if I want to overlap that one in the middle, I won't worry about it too much. I'll just concentrate on these ones. Get them working perfect for me. Okay, when you're happy with those, then you can move on and do your middle one. Okay, so then you can overlap a little bit, and then that makes it a little bit more realistic looking. So I want to actually make this a little bit more wispy, just kind of straighten out and drag out. Through the years, it just, I had just fussiness, I guess. I don't know what it is about me. I just will play and play and play. For me, I can work on a project and enjoy that project. I don't want to be always done in an hour. I want to enjoy it and see it evolve and how good can I get it, It's just pushing my boundaries all the time, just for perfection. And so you'll see that this is basically a very similar kind of way that I teach in all my programs to come. So I definitely want to add some white highlights to some of these leaves now. Right, so again, maybe the top one you just need to fix. You can always use your 6, even though it was originally 8 that I made the stroke with. You know, now I can push the boundaries and just use the 6 and try and make it bigger and better coverage. So that's another thing that I will do a lot of times is downsize my brush. Okay, so a little bit blobby. Alright, so now I want to make a nice big one here. And I want to try and get this curly thing going on again. Really stretch it out and then tighten it right in there. And then pull it down. And then that way you'll get a little bit more of a tighter look. Okay, and then flip. There, one there. This could be like another 3-hour video. Alright, so I'm going to let you guys do some of this work on your own too as well. And I'll probably play around on it myself and perfect it as well before I do the very final scan. But I will show you a few of the ones that I will fix to just add a little bit more highlights to them. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm definitely getting comfortable with the amount of little leaves I got here. And then actually I kind of want to slide another little one here behind it. Don't have to move your wrist. And I'm definitely going to add one over here. Where you think that you can get a front view now, okay? You kind of worked from side to side, and then now you want it to look like there's some actually in front of you. Okay? So wherever you can pop in another little one, just the tiny little ones. And I definitely want to go over this one again before I pop in a tiny little one there. And so this is the back of the flower, so you're definitely going to get, you know, probably a little tiny one there. And if you want to really push yourself and make them really tiny, you can always add a few with your number 2. And definitely wherever there's a big leaf, you want to put a little tiny leaf inside somewhere. And this time I just followed almost the same direction. But sometimes it's good to go sideways on it too, but this is down at the bottom here, so you want to get better coverage on something that you've already painted on. So I definitely think we need another one going up here. Yeah, definitely anywhere there's a big one. Try and pop a tiny one slightly over the always look at your product and go, okay, what am I missing? I'm missing the dark. So I definitely have to. So you see how many times I've gone into fresh paint here and I haven't even really added any floating medium. Especially on the smaller leaves. Just need fresh paint on the edge. So sometimes if I want to not cover something, I will go in that direction so that it's safer than coming, because I have more control doing it this way very carefully than coming back around the other way. So sometimes you gotta do it safe. My poor computer is working on overtime. You can hear the fan every once in a while. It's really, really light. Will dry fast. And sometimes it gets a little sticky, but then I just add a little bit more paint on the corner. Carry it on. Alrighty, I'm definitely liking this now. So I said it's more to give you something that you can watch me in action and how I play and fiddle, and try to get that coverage in there. And then even though I'm just kind of painting in there a little bit, I'm gonna go over that again with some white next time. But you know, you try to get that coverage in there. I sometimes will kind of pop in my paint. So this one here. Okay. See how I just kind of popped in more paint just to get that better coverage. Okay. So I'm just gonna like tap, 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 kind of follow it in. Alright. That's another little trick that I do too to get my color proper. Anywhere that you don't like it, especially in your darker. I always find it's harder to get that fixed a little bit. And then you can always do like a reverse. Instead of doing it with the light, you're doing it with the dark. Okay, so you're not really adding any color to your tip. You're just kind of floating in. And you can add some floating medium to your light green side if you want to just float in the dark part. Going around now and checking. Definitely have to fix both on that one. Okay, because I want to see my little streaks. That's better. And some of them are very faint in the background. That's okay, because the ones in the front that we really want to have the brightness in there. Alrighty. So I'll let you play for a little bit longer, and this is a good place for me to stop. And I'm going to now scan this again for you at this stage. So you'll have a hard copy of the way it looks in its four main areas where I do major changes of colors.